Hi, welcome to this video on the subject of ADHD. Is it a modern day madness and are we all suffering from it? So this video is exploring the phenomenon of ADHD and asking the question, are we all somewhere on the scale? And if so, what can we do about it? So looking up the definition of ADHD, it says, obviously, the first point to consider is attention deficit. So how does that translate? Pseudoscience, attention deficit, what does it even mean? It means we don't pay enough attention. So I didn't find in my brief research, I don't want to go into too much, I want to make this quite personal in relation to our thoughts on it and experiences. But what does it mean? How long can we hold attention? What kind of attention, and where do we fall short? So it's kind of a general description. Are we, do you think, in the age where attention deficit is rife? So the age of scroll, Instagram, TikTok, where those formats are supported by encouraging short attention spans, encouraging the punchline in a minute or under, because people are going to move on. So what started first? Did we capitalise on that lack of attention or did we create it? Question. Not sure I can answer that. Have I got the attention for it? So for me, I wanted to talk about this because it's very much in my sphere. People talk about it. I hear it so often, and I meet people, and people are in my life who have been diagnosed or think that they have ADHD. So the next point on the ADHD is social inappropriateness. It's not behaving well socially, so not being able to hold attention, maybe it's been a bit disrupted or disruptive. So a lot of time the ADHD are looking at children, but of course we know that this affects adults as well. So do we think that we struggle? Does everybody think now that they struggle more to hold attention on things? Do you scroll, lose attention? Do you start things and not finish them? Do you find it hard to keep focus? You think of a good idea but never see it through? All this stuff. And is it a phenomena that's encouraged and supported generally? Because if we never see things through, we're in a perpetual state of disruption and disorganisation and being unable to fulfil projects or things that we want to achieve in dreams, because we're all off, shiny new thing, off to a new direction. So this is not intended to offend anybody with ADHD. It's given two reasons. One is said it's genetic, and the second one social and environmental. So I'm really exploring the social and environmental factors that affect ADHD, and if we've all got somewhere on the scale. Are we all on the scale? I personally think that I am. Think I'm distracted like anybody else and shiny new thing. I start things, I don't finish them. I get overwhelmed by choice, overwhelmed by what's going on around us. And before I know, my day is gone. So the social disruption, when they're looking often at children, that they get disruptive behaviour, which is again to do with the social side of an expectation to sit in class for an hour, sit on your bum, focus attention, can't do it, maybe start like acting out or something like that. Again, not necessarily scientific data on where the parameters lie, but that's a kind of example that is giving, right? So that's a problem if a child is to fulfill an education program, to fulfill the learning that is set out by the institutes, that they can't do that and therefore reach these standards expected by society, becomes a problem, a societal problem. Yes, I would suggest it's a little bit more than that in a way, because not being able to hold attention has a huge impact on our life overall and going down the line, career, relationships, and so on. And I would suggest that in some ways the enforcement of these of the social status, Instagrams, the TikToks, all these things thrown at us, it's actively encouraged. Another aspect of ADHD is impulsivity. So being impulsive, which of course can be really disruptive, because if you're investing money behind those impulses, buying things or experiences, or I know one I get caught up on is courses. I think, oh yeah, that's great, that's the answer, and I go and do it, and I either give up or ask for my money back because I realise that's not going to fulfil the whole. So it is like a very modern day phenomenon. I would say personally I'm somewhere on that scale. I don't think my life is tipped out of balance for it, but I definitely feel it has an effect, and I do have relationships with people with it, and I feel it disrupt the other way around as well, and what that means. So there is also something called emotional dysregulation, which again is to do with relationships and how you form them. So, the inability to form those bonds where, sometimes work is required and it's not a one-sided story, where you have to be able to have the emotional function, maturity to negotiate through relationships. Now, I have in my life people who are diagnosed with ADHD or feel that they're on the spectrum, that's where it's affecting them adversely. I've had some negative experiences with that. I've been on the receiving end. One example is somebody I was working with. I was new to a position, just learning, and this person who was experienced and above me in rank in this particular group, when I wasn't understand not getting something quick enough, or I couldn't, they were under duress, just absolutely roared at me aggressively, more or less calling me an idiot, da-de-da. And then I was like, wow. And later I received an apology, and the apology was backed by oh, I'm sorry that I did that, but I have ADHD. So there's a lack of, for me that was annoying to have that, because that wasn't that there's a taken responsibility for the condition, but not necessarily the impacts. It was backed up, but you need to forgive me and just suck it up because I have ADHD. And that has happened to me a number of times in relationships with people who have ADHD, have been diagnosed it, or think they're on the spectrum. Is this not taking responsibility for behaviour? It can let you down, not like fulfill promises, etc., etc., and then hold up the ADHD card. So it's quite impactful on the people around. I don't want to say that to be blaming, because if you are suffering and struggling with ADHD, yes, how do you handle it? But that is the kind of impact it can have. I know that obviously me and the things I'm talking about has an impact, because I'm failing to commit to things or to understand what it is that I'm looking for, and that has an effect on those around me. When you stop, start, don't commit, pull away, etc., following impulse. Yes, back in the day where I was born in the, you won't believe it, the 60s. Yeah, we didn't have as much choice. The TV was 3 channels initially, went to 4 with Channel 4, and now it's multiple, Sky, Netflix, da-di-da-di-da. You can just get anything you want when you want it. There was much, smaller communities. There wasn't the World Wide Web. Everything was much smaller, which made it easier to focus as well. I guess we didn't have as much material standing as well, and comfort. And it's not to say that that's a good thing. It's good that we're progressing, we have these choices, but it's how we handle them. It's like how we develop in our psyches the ability to handle them without it disrupting us. So we've become quite scattered, if you like. It's been a sensory overload. So yeah, there's the pluses. We've got information overload, technology, we've got choices, we've got consumer choice, we've got so much, and yet have we adapted our system to this progress? And I'm not a Luddite. I'm not wanting to smash it and say, let's go back to the age. I love many of the facets of the modern age, of having Google, of having the web, of being able to get things quickly, to being able to access information, to have choices. but I do recognise that there's a part of me is overwhelmed and gets lost along the way. So, yeah. So, are we all on the spectrum? Do you think that you are affected by it, or am I completely going off at a tangent? Am I deficit loss? But when you look at the definitions, there is the social aspect. So this is what's happened socially, about times have changed and how it can affect us. So is there anything we can do about? Well, we could withdraw into a cave, we could take out some of the choices, all the rest of it. There are like modern day solutions, and I think there's a lot to be said for them. We have, solutions being put forward in breathwork, meditation, journaling, and, generally finding ways to get grounded. Movement practices, which is from the vigorous exercise to the more calming Tai Chi, Qigong, that kind of thing. All these things can calm the system down. We need to almost shut out white noise. We need to go on a little bit of an inner journey. So instead of being subject to all choices outside us, we'll go deeper within and see, where's my calm? Where's my happy place? What do I truly want? How do I want to show up in the world? What is really something I want to follow? How do I want to be in this mindfulness? How do I want to be in my relationship? Can I have empathy with the person and take responsibility for my behaviours and, be able to negotiate other people's behaviours with me as well? So there's all this sort of stuff. So that is really where the work needs to be done to counter this, if you like, overstimulation as well, and how we respond to it. And just think about small children come to the world and how this has become a modern phenomena that's noticed with children. Immediately they're bombarded, maybe have a phone in the hand. These multiple choices from such a young age, before that like foundation and that grounding is established, and if there's not a strong sense of that and that happens, you can see, I think if we're affected by it as adults in our adult life, imagine coming into a world like this as well. So I'm not intending to blame or call anybody insane or, when I use the word madness, it's that craziness I'm talking about of the overstimulation of what's going on, how as a human organism, as a soul in a body responds to this. I actually am quite spiritual and believe that we have a soul purpose, and the soul is looking for ways to come out and express and be its best in relationships and the work and how we turn up in the world. And it's all got very confusing and convoluted out there. So that need to go inside has become even, I think, more important. So finding these practices, sticking with them, seeing them through. This is where a journal or finding some mentors or courses where you have an accountability buddy or some strong self-discipline, which is very difficult, especially when we have jobs and children and a small time frame as well. If we haven't been able to create that space where we can really connect within. So for me over the years, practicing shamanism, being able to get that theta, get that connect with that intuition, doing activities like art and movement and dance, like that meditative kind of inward journeying, just being able to switch off from outside expectations has been the way forward. So are we on the scale? Well, you have to self-judge that. Where does my attention lie? Where does it fall short? Can I improve it for my happiness and life journey, or questions that need to be asked? And only you can come up with the answers. I can't diagnose that. It's the diagnosis for ADHD is quite vague when I had a look into that. But, we can all ask ourselves the questions and see if we can nudge the scale, our personal scale, to a point where we feel that we can hold the focus on the things that we want, on the things that are important, our relationships, our jobs, how we show up, all that kind of stuff, and find the tools to do it. And that's something that really interests me. I'm involved in doing and in creating and being open to. So that is my ADHD. Did you stay to the end? Did you stay? Did I lose your attention? I will take some responsibility for that as well if I was not engaging enough in my presentation. I'm doing my best, and it took something. I'm going to be honest. I found a million things to do before making this video after being inspired to make it. It's taken me over a week since coming up with the notion to get into actually just going, I cannot find any more excuses. I have to do this. So thank you for staying and listening. And I know it's a triggering subject, but it's well worth exploring and taking a long, hard look at ourselves and how we turn up, taking the necessary steps, personal responsibility, and doing what we can to give support to people who are struggling with ADHD, and to support ourselves to become better focused. Thank you for listening.